Hello, I'm Steve DiPaola. I want to show you that I'm moving my hand up and down now because I have a leap motion here, and I'm going to use that as well as other gesture techniques. So let's see what that looks like. Here's a world that is my tree in my backyard, and now I'm moving my hand all the way down to look like kind of like some kind of Van Gogh universe. And as now my hand is moving up, and with AI, I'm able to, just because I thought this tree, which I can almost stop and then bring back down all with hand gesture, I can control. We do a lot of work exactly like that. So I'm going to show you some of it now. So again, my name is Steve DiPaola, and this talk is AI-based cognitive modeling for expression and creativity. I run a research lab at Simon Fraser University. So let's see. And here's some information if you want to know more. I'm originally from Stanford. I was also a director at electronic arts as well, and do a lot of art on the side and get my work in the Museum of Modern Art and the Whitney and Smithsonian and other places. So today I'm going to talk about modeling with AI and computers, modeling the human, expression, emotion, gesture, personality, and creativity. Surely that means taking voice and movement in and intent and emotions. So you could use sensors to do that. Motion tracking, like I just did with my hand, or full mocap, that comes out as 3D or VR, AR, or some other kind of interactive. And it's this middle space with that we use computer modeling and AI modeling gets us the semantics and this experience base that happens. We take this cog-sci approach. So we do a lot of modeling and rigor and experiments and studies. So let's show you some of that. Now, here's my my lab. It's 9 PhDs and postdocs, 76% women. Women AI researchers are amazing. It's about time. They're winning awards all over the place, and I couldn't do this work without them. Quickly, just to show you some of the art using 3D and other techniques. This was a piece that was at the Whitney Museum in New York City on a very, very large installation. Here's one at the Museum of Modern Art that was also using more AI two-dimensional work with the band, the Residents. So I'm going to talk about these two things: expression, which is facial animation and body animation, and thought and dance and arts. And that's surely, that would be a form of creativity. And then creativity itself, creativity in this form of exploration or journey within AI to find things through this latent space, these new techniques. So starting with expression and characters, I've been doing characters for many, many years, and whether it's, realistic or cartoon, or in fact, we're able to use our Painterly AI approaches to it as well. We're able to do a lot of things. So we do that with embodied conversational agents as one form. Those are agents that converse with users using AI or voice or reasoning. But also, and we have many papers on empathy, how you would use these AI large language models and other techniques to model empathy and emotion, expression, personality. So you're aware of the user's feelings. And we do that in AR and VR and other forms. So not all of that needs to be realistic. We've surely done that with virtual whales. Whales are sometimes, it's amazing to have in a zoo and aquarium where people can see a whale or an animal, but it's quite torturous for the animal. So is there a way you could actually have simulated systems where what you're looking at, as you would be here, is this is a real whale in the Vancouver Aquarium, and then the beginning of our kind of whale systems that are set up. And we have a deep AI system that we would use, that you would use in gaming as well, like with state machines, things. So there's a near collision detection. Oh, I'm an elegant whale dolphin. I don't bang into things. Although then this object recognition, some of those things with drives in memory are my mother, or the XN Valdez coming down, I need to breathe. So all those go into our significant kind of AI neural network system to be able to drive these whales. The hope is in the future that we can keep animals, whales, Bengal tigers, whatever, out of zoos and aquariums and instead use these same sensor systems to sense them in the wild as they actually are. And from that, we recreate that in a zoo and aquarium. So you're seeing, let's say, Charlie the Bengal tiger, and it's literally Charlie in the wild that you're recreating in kind of 3D and AI. Of course, you can do a lot of other interesting things, like show how they're feeling and thinking as well, too. So we surely do this this expression and character work for things like to understand in health, like autism and face-to-face communication. These are the characters that we sometimes use. So full AI gestures, having meaning, expression, conversing with users. They can be coaches, they can be teachers, training guides. And our work that I'll show you a little bit of is in health with COVID, training nurses, climate change, even looking at gender bias, helping immigrants learn the language and the culture, and other forms. So here's an example. This would be a health-related one. Let's say there's a woman who's getting quite old now and she wants to stay in her house, but she's having a lot of cognitive issues and she needs a helper tool. So this character I'm about to show you has auto-gesturing. So just from, besides the AI of being able to talk to this elderly woman, as she's talking, like if she's saying the word I, she can point to herself and you away. So the automatic gesturing makes this fast and easy. This is AR, so it would be on an iPad in someone's kitchen. So let me play that.
Hi, Margaret. Great to see that you're up. Good morning. I've been waiting down in the kitchen. So it's Tuesday, which means I think the kids won't be coming over till Friday. And this is every other day for medication. So let's get you some food and get that blood sugar going. And let me know about any other questions.
So full AR, an empathy system. It's able to track the face recognition. If somebody was talking back to it, the stress and the speech, all that goes together in this AI to put it all together. And you're also looking at, again, like I said, auto gesturing. We're working on auto expression of the face as well, too. So just like you tell an actor, I want you to act a particular way using natural words, we could start using large language model systems that we have. So they can just literally, these avatars can just take direction. So they have a work in idle mode, listening, reaching, and talking. Avatar over to a more commercial system. Hey, how's it going?
Hello, my name is Dave.
So it has gesture and awareness and reasoning and knows when I'm talking to it with holding the mic down and talking to it. So I can say something like, "What's up today, Dave? Oh, I can see you hear me."
Nice to meet you. Nice weather, isn't it?
So with awareness and hearing, you're up and on. Here's another example. In this case, we're using on the user with a webcam, we could track her facial emotion and the stress in her voice and turn what she's saying, those words, into meaning for this character to answer. In this case, this is more of an emotional test with the stress and the voice stress, and she's going to tell a story. And the emotion on this character's face is purely automatic. It's not just duplicating whatever she does. What we're doing is tracking her, making an emotional model. That emotional model then goes to this character, and he might be more stoic or more emotional, and that would be filtered through. So let's play that.
I recently got a dog. He's super cute. His name is Muffin, and he runs around the house. And he's so full of energy. But one day I came home and he had peed in my bed, and I had to wash my sheets, and it was kind of gross, not a lot of fun. But I did hear that it doesn't really take a lot of time to have stray dogs. So we're starting that out.
Sure, he believes her.
He's still adorable, so I guess I forgive him.
And then he does talk back. I'll leave that for some other time so I can keep moving. These kinds of techniques now we've used in application spaces. So if we remember during COVID, a lot of the nurses couldn't get out in the field because they had to do a practicum, but they weren't allowed to actually do a practicum. So with Australia and a great women's-led company that we work with, Virtro, the notion was to set up a system with VR for that training. So let's play that.
In immersive virtual reality simulations. This healthcare student is undertaking a daily checkup of a senior patient living in their own house.
Trouble sleeping yesterday. I felt a bit short of breath.
You can hear the lifelike conversations as our student seeks key indicators and asks questions about health issues she should note in her patient.
That must have been worrisome, Mr. Bauer. Were you able to breathe more easily sitting up?
Yeah, sitting up helped. I'm also out of breath when I walk to the bathroom.
Our AI character.
So I could go on and on. We have much better systems today in terms of the facial emotion, the
In
voice.
immersive.
And this is all because of AI. So we're even looking at things like breathing and speech and surely reasoning. It's important to note when a character is breathing and putting that together in the words, and also gaze awareness, where they're looking and why. So we do tests with eye trackers to understand that. And we put all this together in our system: speech, gesture, facial expression, gaze. It goes into, then there's the analysis of the words that are being said, looking at the user and what they're doing, and then have in a system with goals and rules and personality to put all that together. This is a different work that has to do with bias. So why are all these voice assistants like Apple's Siri or Alexa or Google's voice system all female based? Do they need to be? Is that going to be true of voice assistant 3D embodied characters? We've done a lot of work to show that those biases aren't really true, that sometimes these characters are tested and made in ways that are not even. And we've come up with systems, again, in the case of nursing and things like that, where we try and evaluate that a little bit better. We're actually trying to have a character that only kind of the gender, which is obviously controversial, how to do that right, is the difference. And when we do that, we find quite a stark difference. We're also putting these characters quite easily with this auto gesture on AR cell phones, so you could get anything you want to know. In this case, this character knows about climate change, and you could just talk to it. So let's watch that.
Hello. Hello, friend. I've been waiting for you. Who have you now? What's your name? I'm Earth Avatar. Where are you from? I have been co-created by various experts around Canada in the arts, in artificial intelligence,
So
production,
you can go on and just keep talking with this character.
network that is dispersed across in production.
You could make them for all sorts of reasons. So coaching and better collaboration, we're surely doing with mocap characters. And we had one of the first classes ever during COVID, this College 100, an actual 4-credit class where avatars taught the class. So someone was in a VR outfit. Let me show you that video. So you can see the world when we get my sound on. Dr. Jeremy Turner's COGS 100 class. So this is really an alternative to Zoom and other ways of teaching. Let me just show you what I look like. So I'm going to just turn the camera to myself. So I've come in with a desktop, but I still lip sync and have gesture, as you can see. But I'm going to turn back again and show you that Jeremy, the teacher, is in full VR mode. So let's look at him for a second. So he's in full mocap mode, and that's not like a full expensive mocap suit. He's simply just in a headset and controllers. So this was just before class started. Everyone came in. They could decide if they want to sit next to her. They know when their teacher is looking at them, and so on and so on. So it's a really good way to teach. And you can see we have some people there. We even had where he can see on the wall exactly what he's teaching. So we have texture mapped everywhere in 3D. And again, this was a real class, and we did some studies to see that they liked it. We're also doing studies, the difference between controllable. These aren't just images. What's the difference between auto gesturing where you don't have a mocap and where you do. And I'm literally now interviewing somebody, so we'll continue on. So these are the different kinds of ways that you could use embodied 3D characters with AI. Obviously, the semantic captioning, so it literally, the AI will know what it's looking at. So here we see there's a young boy with a blue shirt, and the woman has got a brown hair, and she's wearing a necklace. So that means we could really be talking about this. This is one of the main things we do in the lab, is trying to up meaning, inter-emotional meaning and empathy meaning for game systems, for these health and coaching examples. We also do it in the arts too. So you can see it's like sees a man with a beard, but as we go more abstract, it thinks it's seeing a large umbrella. So we're doing these also just to kind of work in the art space and think about, what meaning means. In this case, these are almost like two different AI systems. One is doggedly trying to say what it sees, so he believes that is truth. The other one is moving towards beauty by painting in a way, and eventually they get confused between each other. So we do a lot with that. Obviously, you could have characters that you can fully converse with. So now this is using large language models. Let me show you our Picasso character that I was at Cambridge and I was talking to it live. This is also produced by Virtro. So I'll turn on sound. I am thinking about art and ethics. Do you have anything to say about ethics and the world?
I believe art brings out the best in people. It shows the world that we are not alone.
Where did you do most of your painting? In Paris or Spain? I'll move ahead here. So I ask him quite significantly. Will they also get into the arts?
All my children have shown interest in the arts, but they are all following their own path.
So I was at a conference and I showed this last day live where I was able to actually ask him the questions in the conference. And because we've trained him on quotes from Picasso and on, he was able to answer in unique and interactive ways. So surely this could be used for coaching. We're also working with the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam with early talks, bringing Van Gogh back to life using these systems, so we have this 3D character, and we're using much more advanced systems than ChatGPT, where it's literally his own words, because he wrote 700 letters to his brother Theo, and we're able to kind of pull from them. We're doing this cognitive chaining, which doesn't happen in ChatGPT, where we can, whereas local memory of different time periods. So if you're talking about Starry Night, he can look up when that was, and then he could, we give him a sense of who the people were, how he was feeling. So when he's answering questions, he knows. So this could be a salesman or back to the nurses, but we're doing with Van Gogh, and we think we can do quite strong things with these very new systems. We call them RAGs, or retrieval augmented generation, which are much better than the current LLM systems. So we're putting them all in the characters. Obviously, on the creativity side, he does not have to look kind of realistic. He could look like this, or like this, or like this. All these are generative AI tools that I have made, and he can even move between them as he's talking. Similar to the work that we talked about, he could have different emotions and change the way he looks given his emotions. Okay, so that's the creativity side. Creativity is such an interesting notion. The human mind is creative. It perceives, it emotes, it reasons. Can you use computational creativity to do that and make tools for creatives, but also make tools that are auto-creative? So there's no one method that we use. We use many methods, and here's some examples of them. Part of it is to understand how the human cognition works, how people are creative. But like I said, it works in e-health for de-stressing or calming or focusing people, and we're doing work with different groups on that. It works in journalism to anonymize. Creativity is a two-way street. there's this associative, like the aha moment, it just kind of comes to you, you break out of the box. But there's this analytical where sometimes you're thinking through it. Most creatives go through both. You wake up in the morning and there's some songs with a lyric, but then you can't get one lyric right. So you kind of move over and pull out a rhyming dictionary, and then sometimes you don't get anywhere and it just pops into your head. So we've built a lot of systems thinking about that, what this defocused attention, how by pulling back, you actually become creative. And we've tried to put these in our systems. There's some biology about how that works. I'll leave that out for now. If you're interested, you can contact me. But creative people would appear simultaneously opened, but yet in control. We call this contextual focus. And we have many, many papers talking about how we would do this. I did a big art piece where I took a very famous portrait of Darwin for his anniversary. It toured the world as it was one of the first AI art pieces in 2019. That was a worldwide show. And I use this contextual focusing. This is being very tight. I want to, in this case, it's a portrait. I want it to look like him. And the other one is, no, I wanted to make it open and abstract. And we wrote an AI system that moves between them. This is a Java code that are like genes, so they get put together in particular ways. So when they get put together, it's a program the programmers run, and that renders an image. That image is blindly kind of tested in a world where it should look like this Darwin. It doesn't actually see it. And over time, it moves in that direction. So creatively, we have all these epochs so Darwin, and his evolutionary technique in AI form sparked all these different kinds of looks. This was at the MIT Museum. It was also in Cambridge here, and then traveled to Emily Carr, University of Toronto, and worldwide, where people were able to see these hanging pieces, a timeline of its thinking process and certain ones. And then because it was AI-based, they were able to take any one of them. And so if they liked one of these, we would give them the genes that made it, and they can continue. So this was another work where swimming away from Darwin, it was called, where in fact they could make anything they want on this online program that we had. So, and then it was in the journal Nature here. So that notion of a creative assisted tool could be used for rug design. You could say, I want to match the shape, or I want to match the color, and now we're able to do that. And we have a rather big project with a design firm working on new ways of doing that. Surely you could be doing this in game design, environments, and others. And we have a lot of work on exactly how that works in the brain. Again, if you're interested, you can come see me, but I'll leave that out. We're doing it in word space, so even poetry. But it's also good for things like anonymization. So in general, when they anonymize someone, they typically, in journalism, they just pixelate the face. And that's terrible because you lose the emotion on the face. We're using the 2,000-year history of what artists do to abstract in a way where it still comes through. We could do that where when she's happy, she looks like this. When she's not as happy, she's more stringy and dark. And in fact, with that other sensing tools, we could be doing this live. So as she's talking, we could track her voice and her facial expressions, which is how she's really feeling. We can't show you that on her face, but we can be changing an abstract version of her face. So those feelings come out not in kind of her eyes and her mouth, but actually it comes out in the rendering that we do. And we can make, when she's angry, she's more red or bigger brushstrokes. So we're able to do that. To do that, sometimes you need to segment out the part that's the human. It turns out and then also what are the important parts for this is an eye tracker, looking specifically at the where somebody would look, and what do you know, they look at the eyes and the mouth a bit, and putting that all together. And in that way, we're able to anonymize groups in quite interesting ways where you feel the emotion is coming from them. If you colorize everything, it feels like it's the whole art. But when you can do them or just their eyes, so we're able to segment in that way. And we did this with a Google Knight Foundation grant. To understand this strong level of emotion, we had to come up with our own emotional wheel. And I have two grad students, Mihai and Naf, who've been working very deeply on redoing very quick ways where you could decide, oh, this one is more heroic, how heroic, and you could decide, and what's the emotional intensity. And very quickly, we can do studies like on how people feel about art and color and game characters and things like that, and use these particular systems. There's also ways now with AI to track that. So I made this with a generative system. This is a scary scene. So let's see exactly what it is. A scary nature scene of a few trees and a horse and an angry sky. And you can see I have a heat map. Here's on scene and here's tree. That's pretty obvious that I picked for every part that it sees. So we're now starting to understand what's exactly going on in these diffusion and large language models. We don't think they're always perfect. So the first thing is to maybe change it and kind of work through it. Here's a calm scene. Note how a scene, which we've noticed over and over again, isn't everything. According to these early systems, it's being trained as where's the horizon, and then the middle must be the scene. We could understand that. We can change that over time. Here's an angry boxer in a calm gym, and you can see, angry is on his face. Gym is the outside. So we're coming up with these very intense techniques now where we can understand meaning in these large language systems and diffusion-based systems. And in our work, we're trying to understand it and do better with it. So we use eye trackers. We look at a lot of art. We do studies. We even have people kind of draw or create things while we're watching what they're doing. So she's literally got a Wacom tablet, so we know her pressure. We have video. We have what she's saying. The most important part here, believe it or not, is what she's saying, because we want her to stay in creative flow. And in that way, she can say what she's thinking. And what she's doing here is obviously she's got this image here, and then she's drawing it. We can see exactly the pressure she's drawing it. She does this for 10 minutes, and then she looks at what she said, and she gives us some real insight to her creative process. So we're doing this in a number of ways. We're getting a lot of data out. There's some papers on this. And so in this way, there's a person's brain or human creative. And in this case, there's a canvas or, a game or whatever creative process. And they don't know what to do. And all of a sudden, oh, I have an idea. So that's a creative explosion, almost like a quantum explosion, because it didn't exist before. And then in the case of a painting, it moves to her hand moving. So it's physicalized to motion. And then at some point, she puts a dot or a piece of paint down. So now what was just the thought of her mind, then movement, becomes this paint blob that stays forever. 500 years later, you're looking at it in a museum, and it's a Rembrandt piece. For her, she does that, and she goes, oh, that's interesting, and then she reflects on it and then expresses again. So we look deeply at how this happens. So if this is her doing it with all these kind of notions in mind, and 500 years later, if it was Rembrandt, you're kind of looking at it, and because you came from the city, not the country, you might be thinking about it differently. This is what we do within our systems, and from that, we're able to make any kind of artwork, or at least be able to manipulate art in different kinds of ways. So, the level of cubism. This is a portrait of me, as is this one, as is this one, as is this one, and you can see the levels that I could put on it. So we're doing that with dancers, and we're making 3D and video-based artwork all over the world, and being able to express feelings in different ways. We do that with a lot of different kinds of sensor systems. So this is an Impatigo watch here that can do your heart rate. It's kind of like an expensive, Apple Watch or Fitbit of the future. So we get really good things out of it, but eventually it'll just be done normally, obviously, with just commercial watches. But so facial motion, gesture, eye tracking, we use all these tools. Here's an example of how we did it in health. So here we have a counselor and a patient, and the counselor could just say, please try and calm down and breathe. Or in our case, the counselor herself with the Muse brain sensor on and some other sensors has to actually almost dream or go into a happy place and almost kind of grab him and take him with her. So you see, he's got a head-mounted VR display on. So he's going to see this world that she creates. So in this case, when she breathes in, the Veranoid sphere looks like this, and when she breathes out, so that can keep going back and forth. So let's watch a video of her breathing. And then when she believes she's ready, she's also using the Muse brain system to actually control this happy place. In this case, we just have this flocking system here that she's able to then bring him in. So he is now looking around in this world that she created. It's always good to bring up ethics. It's obviously this body security and body privacy. It's not always perfect that the counselor every day has to like get to a place for someone to go in rather than just kind of give advice. But these are the tools that we're talking about using. So this is different. This is the brain system. We've done this with Alex Kitson for lucid dreaming to show how you can kind of understand how you can control your dreams. And we used AI to move through it. And then the very recent work is being able to explore to make things using these very new systems. So imagine this is all of the possible art or design that you could make. How do you get over to this star over here? So going from this one to that one. So we're talking about a system to do that. Maybe there's some nice ideas where when you're somewhere and it's not perfect that you actually leave. And then you try going back, your journey back, and this road back actually gives you some of the pieces that you were missing. So that could be for architecture or environments and games or product design or character design. And we have our students doing every one of those now, just trying to do this exploration through, and we're writing a tool based on it. And we could do it where you start wide and go tight. So let's look at how you would do that. So here's kind of a wide and this kind of art thing. I don't really like these bottom ones. I like these four. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say expand this to only those four, and I'll see everything that's in between. You can see it goes from 11 to 15. So now we'll go from 11 to 15 on the big one. There it is. So now we're going that way here. And now I decide I like this one. So you can see how we went from anything to something tight to the exact one, or at least the area that we want. So that's what we've done here, and we've zoned in. So with this one, then I like to say we get a sketch. It's not always the finished piece. We could take it into a 3D program, or we could take it into Photoshop or Illustrator, or even, a sculpture and finish it off. In this case, I finished this particular look off like that. But so we're writing a system that as you move through this space, it makes a map of every one of your choices and your forks, and you can kind of label them. And then later you can go back and forth through this ideation journey. So this is about ideating quickly for a client or for yourself to get to a sketch or something close to what you want. So you can see we started and we're getting a look. I like these a little bit of floating things that happened here. So I've moved that in. I said, give me more floating circles and shapes, and I get more of them. Okay, now I'm going to make one of those big changes. I'm going to say, no, make it a sculpture. And I got a little, some sculpture. You can see the sculpture, but no, that's not woody enough. So I'm going to say, no, make it more wood. Also, I don't want to lose the eyes, so make sure it's two big eyes and it's a human face. Oh, now I'm getting something pretty nice. Hey, this one reminds me of a button. Maybe what I'll say is give me more buttons as I'm moving through this, and now I have a whole bunch of choices of buttons. Now I did this, how quickly I've ideated to this idea. Now for the hell of it, I'm going to go back again. So now that I have this one, let's see if I can go back to a two-dimensional painting. It's going to be different because it's based on this shape and look. And here I'm going back again by changing the prompts and journeying back until I get to something, let's say, that I like. And I would have never gotten here from the original one. It was this journey from 2D to 3D that really helped me to get there. And you can see it here. So with that, the idea then is we save everything in our tool. You can go back and forth. So you can say, what did I do? You can save your favorites. You could also put in labels, user labels, to remember, oh, this one's a good one. Or down here, you can see this is my final sculpture. So there's even tags to remember, what creative area I was in. Here's another one. I didn't bother tagging it, but I've left it from down here. And now I'm going up here in the enhanced cubist tag that I've written. So these are ways to kind of move through this. People are doing it now in kind of UX design and and character, 3D game character design, and we have that tool. We also do it with performers like dancers, and even activism. We have people using this to tell their important stories. In this case, M&A here is giving portraits of this terrible situation in Iran, where a lot of young women are being killed in different ways and they're martyrs. And she's able to use something like a collage. She can cut it up and do something different for each one of these. In this case, showing, the protest and showing other things all in this collage. So this is all about trying to simplify, emphasize what's important. That's what you do at Creativity. And then you're able to take a portrait or a 3D design and say, oh, I want it more like water or fire or nature or the universe. And these are the tools I'm showing you. So I can go from in this case, my favorite park where I live. And again, just to finish this off, go from here with this 360 camera with video and animation in a world that I see. And I want to go back to Van Gogh. So I think about Van Gogh's room and see if I could turn into like almost this chair in his room. So I would say this is Van Gogh's room. And with our tools, you can say, hey, I want to see more of this wood stuff and a little bit of that. And now I'm able to kind of change the world to go to that. So we're doing it in poetry as well, too, and other things. So I think I'll stop at that point. So this was work in using AI in creative design. We're using NLP and GAN systems to do it and other ways of doing it. We're using it in art and other forms. So I'll just leave with my info again. So I'm Steve DiPaola. You could just get to me at ivislab.sfu.ca or my initials sdipaolo@sfu.ca. And most of these tools are open source and we give out to others. So please just contact me and you could be part of our research or collaboratively work with us. We work with a lot of companies as well. So we'd be willing to do that with you. Thank you again and enjoy your day.